Welcome back to the 19th hole. Jake here, as I shouldn't say as always, because I wasn't here last week. Keith and Mike held it down for me while I was out of town. So thank you for that. Keith is here with me yet again. Guys, it is the US Open. It is what I would consider to be the single hardest professional golf event in the world. And we can debate that if we want to, but I'm going to stand on that hill and I'm going to die on it. But we're going to do a breakdown of the odds board, kind of our favorite plays of this week. We're also going to draft a fantasy spin lineup. But most importantly, I want you guys to take a peek at the IBT Golf family. The IBT Golf family is our free to join way to gain access to our chats with our analysts, our viewers, as well as anybody else in between who is in the Discord with us. It also gets you entry into our memorabilia giveaways, as well as entry into the PGA one and done contest. That is all free, but if you spend $3.99 a month or $36 for the year, you will gain access to our chat or to our weekly betting model, as well as our full golf betting cards. And this does not only mean that golf is the only thing you can do this for. This gains you access to the IBT football family, racing family, and entertainment family. So make sure you guys check that out. But Keith, what do you say we just hop right in to talking about last week's tournament?
Let's do it.
Last week, Bud answered the Cauley. As close as I could get to a good pun off of his name, but we will take it. Bud Cauley won the RBC Canadian Open. It was an incredible story. For those of you who aren't familiar with Bud Cauley, in 2018, the week of the Memorial, he's in Ohio. He misses the cut. He was out with some friends that night and ultimately ended up in a car accident. And during that car accident, he had some severe injuries. He broke several ribs, several bones. At one point, they were considering removing his rib cage because they were worried they weren't going to get the swelling down. He had a punctured and collapsed lung, broken bone in his lower leg. And, he returned to play within just 4 months. However, that return to play was not smooth for him. He had continuous pain in his right side, which is where a majority of the injuries were. And he had everything from buildup of fluids in his torso and in his stomach area, inflammation on his colon. And this was as of 2020. He had to finally step away from competing in professional golf. And it took him quite a few years to get back. He really, started competing again in 2024 is when he on the Korn Ferry Tour that year. And we've seen him, over the last couple of years play on the PGA Tour more consistently. And, this is his 239th professional start on the PGA Tour and his first victory. So wanted to give huge shout outs to that and tell the story. But we also got to talk about the golf, right? I would think Bud Cauley would tell you he didn't have his best week with the irons, but what won him this event? He was 5th in the entire event in putting, 6.6 strokes gained with the putter, 4th around the greens, nearly 3 strokes there. Still gained about 2 strokes with the irons, which in this event ranked 33rd in the field, and then was 17th off the tee. But ultimately, the man just turned it on when he needed to. He, made the 13th least bogeys in the event, only made 7 bogeys, 22 birdies, 1 eagle. It was just flat out, just a consistent, solid performance all the way through, highlighted by a 63 in round 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy for Bud. Just the latest event that I do not pick an outright winner for. I've only had 2 of those this season. Luckily, I have pivoted. If you don't adapt, you're going to die. So I have adapted and done a lot more top 5, top 10, top 20 plays, less outrights. Happy to say that I did have David Skins at plus 740 to top 20. It was all over our boy Suter to top 10 and top 20 at 8 and 4 to 1. But I really am happy for Bud because, man, like this game's hard enough. Like it's so freaking hard. And to reach the pinnacle and then have something like that happen. And, it was pretty remarkable to your point. Like obviously when he rushed back, for just being honest. And it cost him his car. Like he ended up falling down the ladder. He had to get things straightened out. And it took him a long time to get back to the PGA Tour. And what was it, 23 or 24? He's using up all of those medical exemptions, betting on himself that, hey, this is going to work and I'm going to be able to maintain, my card through that. And he was able to, do that, but not by a lot, right? So this one is so big for him. Like getting 2 years exemption. I think we brought this up here before. Like you can't understand how huge that is for guys that are not like the top 50 players in the world to know, they just get to exhale, right? Like for the next 2 years, I'm going to have my card. And I think that allows them to go out and play, free and hopefully some good golf. And I hope he continues to have success, but either way, at least I know we're going to see him for the next 2 years on the PGA Tour and at Augusta National next April, which I'm sure he's jacked about.
Exactly the only major he had not played in up to this point in his career. But yeah, it's just an incredible story. Last event he played was September 2020. He actually T14 at that event. So it's not even like he played terribly. And then just ultimately the body was just not cooperating with him. And the next time we saw him was the Bahamas Great Exuma Classic on the Korn Ferry Tour in 2024, T21 in that event. And then, he'd tell you himself probably didn't play his best golf from there. Only had 3 top 25 finishes that year in 2024 on the PGA Tour. Started to see some better performances in 2025. And then he's off to, obviously the best start of his career as a professional in 2026 here with the win. He also had a solid performance at the RBC Heritage where he 7th place. It's certainly, like you said, it's guaranteeing him a spot on the PGA Tour for the next couple of years. And, when you almost lose your life, right, in a situation like this, Jack Nicklaus was quoted as saying, like, we were just hoping that Bud was alive.
Yeah.
And to turn it around and secure, your secure life for yourself. Like, don't get me wrong, professional golfers at this level, Bud Cauley made $15 million in his career. Like he's doing plenty well at this point in his life. But at the same time, to lose your livelihood, to lose everything that you've dedicated your entire life to, so abruptly, and almost lose your life again at that, and then be able to parlay that into a win just a few years later. It's just incredible story. Dirty Bird in the chat here's, wild story about Bud. He's back, he's playing well, and that's absolutely the case. I mean, this isn't the first great event that he's had this year. Like we said, we just saw him last week at the Memorial. I'm sure that
my boy Sebastian, by the way, Jake. So Sebastian, thanks for joining us, man.
Shout out Sebastian. But yeah, just at the Memorial, I'm sure that event, when that pops up on the calendar, it has to bring back some of those memories, and obviously not great ones, but to follow that up with a win, have arguably the best putting performance of his entire PGA career. It's just awesome to see. So had to definitely make sure we talked about that. But we know why you guys are here. We are here to talk about the U.S. Open. So let's get these caddy notes going and start breaking down Shinnecock Hills. Now, there are not many golf courses that I say, regardless of the money, I would pay to play that course. Shinnecock Hills is one of them. Is one of my favorite.
Looking for punishment, huh?
Yep. I don't even care. It's, it's one of the hardest golf courses that you are going to find public play on occasionally, and it is worth every single penny. But for this year's U.S. Open, we are seeing it as a par 70, playing at 7,440 yards. Perhaps most notably, this is the 5th time we've seen this as the U.S. Open venue, and it's the first time since William Flynn's design in 1931 that we are seeing this event with no modifications from the USGA. It is basically just, here is the course. They've decided, yes, we don't need to make it even harder than it already is. This is one of the hardest courses on the planet, and we are going to treat it as such. But
they've had some, if I'm remembering correctly, I think they had some issues in the past where they tried to trick out Shinnecock Hills, and they kind of lost the greens. Is that correct? Or am I getting that mixed up?
You are absolutely correct. There was a year where there was some miscommunication between the grounds crew and the US, or it was either USGA or PGA of America, as to how that the greens were supposed to play, and you could not keep the green if you tried. It was almost physically impossible. They caught a lot of flack for it, as they've caught flack for some various different US Open venues throughout the career, or throughout history. But this year, like we said, they're just said, hey, here you go. Here's Shinnecock, play Shinnecock, still good luck. And it's a unique US Open venue in a lot of ways. It's not unique in some ways. Like, yes, it has the most bunkers of any course that we have seen a major or PGA Tour event played at in the last 5 years, with 160 bunkers. It has almost no water. It's got the fescue. It's got 5-inch long rough, up to 8 inches at some point, not counting the native grass in the area as well. But this is also unique in some ways. It has the 3rd widest greens on average, approaching nearly 50 yards wide on average, and some getting as wide as 60 some yards. So not some of the narrow fairways that we're going to see at some of the US Open venues. 3rd largest greens on the PGA Tour, and the greens don't really roll that fast if they don't get messed up. But it sounds like they are prepared to make sure that they don't lose the greens again. They said they're ready to, add water to the greens.
The speed of the greens has so much to do with the combination of the undulation and then the wind that they get, that, if you get them too fast, players won't be able to mark their freaking balls without them rolling 30 yards back in the fairway.
You see guys sprinting after moving balls just to hope they can find a moment where it stops a little bit to mark it. But they're prepared to water the venue throughout the event. They're prepared to, do whatever they have to do to make sure they do not lose the greens. But, when it comes to Shinnecock and the, kind of the builds that we're looking for this week, what type of players are you kind of looking for to approach a lineup for Shinnecock, or to approach a betting card for Shinnecock?
So I think, you did a good job of describing this is a unique venue. And I've heard a lot of people this week calling this a links course. And in so many ways it is. We just said, like, the greens are not your typical US Open, like 13 and a half on the stent meter, because like with Open Championship and link style courses, you're going to deal with probably consistent 15 to 25 mile an hour winds. If they really kick up, good luck. I love, again, the fact that it's an unusual golf course, because you have these massive fairways. So you think, well, this will be an easy driving course. Not so fast, because those fairways, again, like a link style course, are very firm, very fast. And a good drive can end up rolling out quite a lot. And depending on the undulation, you think you've absolutely striped one. And next thing you know, your ball is 20 yards right of where it landed in some fescue. Unusual in the sense that most US Opens have, thick rough surrounding the greens. It's going to be a Texas wedge fest, folks, where we're looking at almost every area around these greens. If it's not a bunker, is an area that's going to have a huge runoff, and basically, I guess what you would call like fringe or fairway that you're going to see a lot of guys putting from this week. You definitely need players that excel on tight lies chips. I'm not going to lie. I think, and this is maybe a mistake, but I think it's such a difficult golf course to hit fairways and greens on a consistent basis. I kind of threw that out the window. Like I really did. Now, obviously, I looked at proximity from 200 plus because there's a lot of shots that are going to be coming from that distance. You always want to look at strokes gained tee to green when looking at a major venue, particularly recent, strokes gained tee to green. But overall, most of my, most heavy weighted statistics are all from around the greens and on them. I think this is a golf course that is going to be decided on and around the green. So strokes gained around the green, by far, in my opinion, the most important statistic this week. Like, I think you have to be able to scramble. You have to be able to take advantage on these par fives, which there's only 2 of them, by the way, being able to get that, say, up and down. If you get near, right in front of the green, you got to make birdie there. It's going to be so important to scramble and save pars when you miss fairways. So bogey avoidance, strokes gained putting. And then I think one of the stats that I've heard a lot of people, mention, and I didn't hear that in the beginning of the week, approach putt.
Yep.
It was so freaking important this week.
It was the first stat I put in my model.
The last thing you need to do at a venue like this is hit a green in regulation or hit a good, say, recovery shot and then 3-whack it for bogey, double, like whatever it may be. That is going to kill you. What did I think Scott Porter told me on our Fantasy Six-Pack show? There's like 680 golfers that have played a U.S. Open at this venue. 3 of them have finished the week under par. This is a, Samuel L. Jackson in Jurassic Park, hold on to your butts golf course. Like, this is just hold on for dear life. Par is your friend. And I'm very excited to see. I think this is a great track. This is a great championship venue. If you look at the 4 U.S. Opens held here that are in the at least 1900s or further, I'm not counting the one in the 1890s.
Yeah, it was a match play anyway.
Very good winners have came out of those venues, like top-notch players. And I think we're going to get that again this week. And I'm just hoping we get a really good duel. But if you look at that leaderboard in 2018, obviously we know Koepka won. It was his second straight U.S. Open victory. Fleetwood second, Dustin Johnson third, Patrick Reed fourth, Finau fifth, Hatton sixth, Xander sixth, Rose 10th, Fitzpatrick 12th. Like, those are all top players, and we're top players at that time. I expect to see something similar this year, with obviously some surprising names up there as well. But ultimately, I think this is an event that's all about strokes gained around the green, scrambling, bogey avoidance, and you just want to not give strokes away. I think it's one of those U.S. Opens that if you cannot give strokes to the field, to the course, you have a chance to win, because everybody's going to do it. You just want to try to not do too many self-inflicted wounds.
Absolutely. And, that is the best example that we have. So looking back on the 2018 U.S. Open, kind of how it broke down, it actually was surprisingly easy comparatively for players to hold fairways, 71.3% driving accuracy.
Didn't help them on their greens and regulation. Hitting greens.
Absolutely did not. It was that was actually 54.6%, down 11.5% from the average PGA Tour venue. But it taught us some things that we can look at here, right? Like, distance did matter, right? This is one of the longer venues that players are going to play this year, which is hilarious because in my mind, this is a short venue. But I'm also used to, like, when we stretch the USGA stretched Aaron Hills out to 850 yards, we're obviously seeing something different there. This is short in comparison. Distance matters, but really accuracy and like being able to take advantage of the shots when you get in the fairway do matter. But if you're not
total driving, because that's kind of what I looked at was total driving over just trying to fight over, is it accuracy, is it distance? I was like, screw it, let's just use the total driving statistic.
Exactly, because the way that this venue is set up with the fans walking through a lot of the the true fescue once you get past the rough, it's almost better to miss the fairway by a mile than it is to barely miss it, because you barely miss it, you're in 5-inch rough, or if you miss it by a mile, you're in tramp down long grass, probably have a near perfect, if not very good lie, and can make your approach shot from there. Approach play was by far the most important correlation to strokes gained. So no surprise based off of what we're talking about here. We did see an increase in shots compared to PGA Tour average between 125 and 200, and then from 250 plus. With this course playing longer this year, I do expect more of those to fall in that 200-yard plus area. So I do have that number in there as well. But like you said, around the greens played nearly double the importance that it traditionally does in a PGA Tour event. So that is absolutely going to be what we're looking for there. By the way, we don't talk enough about Tommy Fleetwood's 7 under on Sunday at Shinnecock in 2018. That is arguably
maybe one of the best rounds in major championship golf of the 2000s.
To finish at +2. And when I looked that up, there were so it's 144 golfers, I think it is, during the field. So you do that times 2, so 288, and then 67 made the cut. So that times 2, so 288 plus 132. So there's 420 rounds played. There were 15 that were more than more than 1 under, better than 1 under par. That is one of 15 rounds that was better than 1 under par in the entire event. This is going to be a brutal test, even if it plays quote unquote easier this year than the way that the PGA of America and the USGA have had it set up prior. However, it's still going to be an extremely difficult event. It's going to be probably the least scoring opportunities that we're going to see this year. It is going to be an event that is going to be won by your ability to play in all facets of the game. So with that said, let's get these clubs twirling. Let's start talking about our plays for the week. But I can tell you right now, it's going to be a lot of names that you expect. With the books this week,
Jack, real quick, we need to make sure at the expo this year we get some video of me and you striping drives off the tee, and that needs to replace just that stock footage that we have, for that intro right there. I mean, what are we doing here, right? Like we need to get me and you hitting some bombs on there. Don't you worry, already on the books. But speaking of the books, with the books this week, I got to say it. I think the fairest odds board we've had thus far this year. I think there's some really surprising odds, particularly in the top 5, top 10, top 20. Like I can't believe some of the guys that are 20-1, say, to top 5 or even top 20 play that I'm going to mention later. It's shocking. And were you surprised Scheffler is nearly 5-1? Because that really surprised me.
I surprised in which way?
I mean, he's been predominantly in that 3 to plus 425, I think has been the best we've seen, even for the majors this year. I think it's that plus 465 even right this second. I just was surprised. 455 on DraftKings. Yeah, I was a little surprised that it's, honestly better odds. And then what does that say, right? Am I really off in believing that Scheffler is going to win this event? Or is that, because this just to me feels like a match made in heaven, if you will, of Scheffler's game and Shinnecock Hill, what it takes to succeed there. Absolutely. Great segue. Let's just talk about Scottie here, because I do like Scottie at the top of the board. It'd be the most Scottie thing to have a year where he's quote unquote struggling and then just show up and win a major. Completes a career Grand Slam in his first, try, that kind of deal. Very Scheffler. But I think part of why the odds make sense to me, and I'm not too surprised to see it up, is we have not seen Scottie win the US Open. It's the chase event for him now. Not to say he's played poorly here by any means. He's 4 top 7s, runner-up finish in 2022, solo 3rd in 2023. So we've seen him play really well at these events before. And just coupled with the fact that, again,
having to say that Scottie is struggling is insanity. The dude won 6 times last year just because he's won once. And then if you look at his average placement this year, the dude has 7 events if you count the win, where he's finished 4th or better. His worst finish on the season is 24th. He's finished top 12 2 other times. He's got 1 other finish that wasn't in the top 20. Like, it's still Scottie Scheffler. He leads the model basically every week. And when you go through the model of what's a concern about Scottie, he's above field average and everything. You could probably make an argument that it's still the approach game from the 150 to 200 plus range. So really just call it 150 plus is still not what it has been, but he also leads the field in strokes gained on approach. He's still 3rd in ball striking. He's still he's still 1st in bogey avoidance in an event where he told you it's going to be near impossible. He's 13th in total driving, 5th around the greens. The putting is even 55th, which on paper, it's not the best, but it's also like that again, still above the field average that we're seeing here. He is, top 40 in approach putting. Like, there's nothing that's glaring about a weakness for Scottie. And you can get him 5-1 right now on FanDuel. Best it got to for us was 6-1. It's actually, even from the time that I made these banners just a couple hours ago, it's now 5-1 on FanDuel. So, the market is adjusting to it. It's 6-1 on Bet365 if that's available to you. There's still, better odds even than what we're showing here. But I don't mind Scottie at this price, but I really like that I can get Rory 12-1.
I mean, again, let me put a huge disclaimer up that I've given all of 2 outright winners this year. It's been my worst season since I started covering golf for Fantasy Six Pack 5 years ago. But I think this is insane that more people do not think that Scheffler's going to win this. Now,
Agreed.
Let me get the bad out of the way. You are right that the irons are not quite as sharp, particularly the long ones. And the best stat that I've seen is from Justin Ray, which is from 2022 to 2025 drives that end up in the fairway, which, by the way, he's 1st in total freaking driving as well. So he does that a lot on par 4s and par 5s. I think it was from 22 to 25, roughly 36% of the approaches were ending up inside of 15 feet. That's real good. This year, that number's all the way down to 23%. So that, sort of tells you, there's a drop off in the irons. But to me, to the bigger point of what you were saying is, what is this tournament about? And for me, it's scrambling, avoiding big numbers, your ability to get up and down and excel on these greens. And the dude's 1st tee to green, 1st total driving, 3rd strokes gained around the greens for the year, 2nd in scrambling, 1st in bogey avoidance. Oh, by the way, he's also 1st in par 4 scoring, which they're going to play a huge role, obviously, this week. And again, I know he hasn't won one yet. 7th or better in 4 of the last 5 U.S. Open starts. I just think this is the perfect event for Scheffler to get off the schneid. And then I just also am a believer in history of the game of golf. And with the exception of Rory McIlroy, every other player who has had an opportunity, has gone on to complete the career Grand Slam has either done it in their 1st, 2nd, or 3rd attempt. And Tiger did it in his 1st attempt. Ben Hogan did it in his 1st attempt. And I just think Scheffler is that guy. I think he's that dude that will walk in and say, look, let's just get this out of the way. I saw what Rory dealt with for the last decade. I ain't got time for that. I got some little ones now. I'm just going to go ahead and win this now. And then we can, figure out how great I am from there. The only other thing that I will say that the Model Maniac, my buddy Byron, said, which was a good point, outside of the 2023 Arnold Palmer Invitational, every event Scheffler has won in his PGA Tour career, 9 under or lower has been the winning score. I think that Bay Hill Invitation was -5. So contrary to what you would think with the strengths of his game, he tends to actually win in scoring fest, not in these sort of grind events. But I just think that changes this week. But I will say that I think Rory getting over double the odds with the windy conditions and the fact that he excels on link style courses, particularly being able to putt, from off the green and just have a lot more flexibility in the kind of pitches he hits, is like the definition of value.
Yeah, and with the wind is exactly what's leaning me Rory's way here. Rory plays better in the wind. This is a statistically proven fact, by over half a stroke better per hole.
It's ridiculous.
He is. I mean, when you grow up where he did, right? When you grow up in Ireland, when you grow up in the United Kingdom as a whole, you get these opportunities to play in the wind a lot more frequently. I play better in the wind, even being from Illinois. It's something that we deal with a lot when we're out here. It's the same for a lot of players from like the Kansas area. It's the same for a lot of players in Texas, where we grew up playing in the wind. So we know how to adapt to these situations. And that's exactly what you get with Rory. But that's not the only parts of his profile that are, stand out on paper. He's leading the field in ball striking over the last 30 rounds. Third in birdies or better. Second, strokes gained total at the comparative courses that I pulled for Shinnecock. Third in strokes gained total at the US Open over the last 5 years. Like, again, just no major holes in the game. You could argue it's the putter. Again, still over field average. If I'm not going to hold it against Scottie, I'm not going to hold it against Rory here. And Rory is, let's be honest, the dude is hunting big events. He is big event hunting this year. That's why since he won the Masters, we've seen him 3 times. And one of those was the Memorial, and the other one was the PGA Championship, which many would argue are the 2 biggest events over the last couple of years. I think this number probably surprises a lot of people in terms of, even Rory being 12-1, feeling like that it should probably be lower. He's kind of running into the thing that's kind of bumping Scottie's up as well, where, yes, Rory won the US Open in 2011 and has not won since. In fact, he's missed the cut 4 times here since. That said, over his last 7 US Opens, he has not finished worse than last year when he finished 19th. And before that, it was second, 5th, 7th.
I was going to say, he's had several runners. Like, he could easily, have won the US Open multiple times in just the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's one of those things that would not surprise anybody. And I also I think Shinnecock is built for his game. His two best putting surfaces this year are bent and POA. It's a bent POA blend on the greens this year. So it's just really lining up for what I think is going to be the big factor for Rory. And again, when you can drive the ball well and hit your irons well here, the play around the green is what's going to make or break some players. When Rory won the Masters, he won that on the back of his play around the greens. His strokes gained around the green, he gained nearly 6, gained over 6 strokes around the green, which led all of the main 4 facets of the game for him that week. So he's shown
not going to be able to have another week like that with the driver, though. I think we can all agree on that. If he drives it the way he did at Augusta, he's not going to be able to pull the rabbit out of that.
Yeah, and his driver has gotten more accurate since. But historically, even when he's been inaccurate with the driver throughout his career, for whatever reason at the US Open, he finds it. He puts in the work to get it here. He's not been inaccurate compared to the field with the driver since his last missed cut at a US Open, which admittedly was here at Shinnecock in 2018. That said, I'm not worried about it. I'm taking the Rory train.
Don't you think that's the biggest advantage, though, to him? Like, out of all the majors, him having a good driving week at the U.S. Open is a bigger – because he hits it so far and so straight when his driver's on that I just think it really puts him – just like Bryson. That's why Bryson's won 2 U.S. Opens in the last 5-6 years. The same deal. Like, when those guys are hitting their driver – they're hitting 350-yard bombs right down the fairway, and it's not fair to the rest of the field.
Yeah, I think that's arguably one of the most impressive things about Rory is he's 4 miles an hour ball speed faster than he was last year. It's just absurd. It's unfair. We're going to keep it rolling. I could gush about Rory forever. So let's pick another guy who succeeds in and excels in windy conditions in Matt Fitzpatrick. This is another one where the odds have already moved more in our favor over on DraftKings, 23-1 right now for Matt Fitzpatrick. And I think it's simplified down to one thing for me. Shinnecock plays like an open venue more than it does a US Open venue in a lot of ways. And Fitzpatrick is a guy who grew up on that style of course, has succeeded on that style of course. But over the last 30 rounds, Matt Fitzpatrick leads the PGA Tour, leads the players in this event in strokes gained around the green. He's still 10th in ball striking. We know how he's transformed himself with the driver. He's 8th in bogey avoidance, 7th on approach, plays US Opens well, has played the comparable courses to this well, and his long irons are the best they've ever been. If there's a time for a Matt Fitzpatrick to get another US Open victory, it is going to be this year.
Yeah, the most I think, valued and rated guy in this field. It's like people don't want to admit, hey, he's won 3 times this season. He beat Scottie Scheffler in a playoff and hit one of the best iron shots you'll ever see. What was that, like a 3 or 4 iron into the wind that he just absolutely threw a dart? My only concern with Fitzpatrick, and that's it. I mean, he played well here in 2018, finishing 12th. Obviously won this event in 2022. Has surprisingly really struggled since then with the T17, T64, T38 in U.S. Opens. But for me, it's all about, can he putt decent? I don't think he's got to putt great. He can't continue to putt poorly, particularly on approach putts, which again, I think that we both think that's a big stat. He has really struggled this year, not just with the flat stick at times, but on his approach putts.
He's 100th in approach putting.
Yeah, that's not good. So if he can I think he just needs to have a decent putting week. And with the way he drives the ball, the way he's gotten so much better around the greens with the scrambling and the cross-handed chipping. He just can't lose this event on the greens, and I expect him to be in contention. But no, I agree. I do like the value of Fitzpatrick, and if he's moving up, I would maybe wait if you're thinking about making that Fitzpatrick, bet and see what it gets to, by tomorrow evening.
Exactly. Check it, keep an eye on it coming up to the event. It's, at this rate, it's not, jumping around drastically. He opened, where'd that tab go? He opened at 21. So it has, moved, quite a bit in our favor, at least on DraftKings. Pretty much every other book has been pretty consistent, or it's gotten better for the house more than it's gotten better for us. So if it continues in this direction, though, on DraftKings, keep an eye on it, see where that goes. But a great value. And I think what's giving me some hope with his putter is he just put on a spectacular putting performance last week at the RBC Canadian. And if he can keep that up, it's going to be awesome.
And those are bent Poana greens too, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah.
Yep. So great, great. And that was why a lot of players that were qualified for the US Open still ended up playing in that event. It's as good of a warm up as you're going to get for the greens at Shinnecock Hills. But moving on, this is where odds, maybe starting to get into, or I would say after Henley here. Henley's probably the last name where you're like, yeah, that guy could win legitimately. I'm not thinking too heavily about it. From here, it's the US Open, right? This is very much a cream rises to the crop event. JJ Spawn winning last season was very much a what? Who won? Really?
But he was a top 25 player in the world, which is forgotten,
right?
Because he was playing incredible. Name, but he was playing. Yeah, he was playing good golf entering the event.
Exactly. I'm not going to talk about it on the show, but I actually do think JJ is set up for I don't want to say a legitimate chance to repeat and become the first back-to-back winner.
Lee Jansen, maybe on our hands there. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying there's a chance. But Russell Henley now 40-1 over on DraftKings. So again, another player getting a little bit more favorable on the odds board. Another player that I absolutely love this week, 4th in my model. But Keith, I know how much you love yourself some Russell Henley. So why don't you take this one away?
I keep pounding the drum that he's going to win a major in the 2020s. Like, it's just going to happen. He's too good of a player. He continues to improve so many facets of his game. He's finished 14th or better now in 4 of his last 5 U.S. Opens. Oh, by the way, he was the first round leader at Shinnecock in 2018, finished top 25. And let's be honest, that Russell Henley in 2018, nowhere near the player that Russell Henley is now. And, you know, it's kind of like what, again, we were talking about. I think this is an event that's all about, you know, being able to find fairways, scramble, avoid big numbers. There's very few players in the world that are better than Russell at most of those things. And I just think it would be really fitting for a New York major championship with the heartache that he suffered at the Ryder Cup last year, because I'm telling you, nobody felt worse than Russell Henley missing that putt, which I to this day think that if he would have made that, the U.S. would have won that Ryder Cup. Like, it would have just absolutely rocked the European and the team. They would have been literally just vomiting all over themselves the rest of the way, because, I mean, just the pressure would have completely shifted. And I just think it'd be very fitting for Henley to get a major sort of in the same area. And I think the wind blowing is only going to help him. I really do. I think the harder this event plays, the better it is for Henley. You look at, like, you know, he's obviously won at Bay Hill recently. This is, to me, a Russell course. And the fact, again, that he finished 25th and was the first round leader in 2018 when Henley was nowhere near the player he is today shows that this course fits his eye. So I love the value of Henley. I love the value of him, like top 5, top 10, top 20. I mean, you can get him at plus 750 to top 5, for God's sakes, like, and plus 160 to top 20. Like, that's all Russell Henley does is make top 20. So love it, you know, him on a couple of different ways on the betting card this week.
Yeah, Henley is he's built for this course, right? Like, the dude hits the ball dead straight. The question mark for Henley this week is going to be the wedges. I think that's kind of what's probably consistently held him back as a whole, especially at the U.S. Open. He's consistently performed well, top 25 in 5 of the last 6, 14th or better in each of the last 3. But the wedges haven't necessarily been a strength. Off the tee a little bit as well, but he's so accurate off the tee. Obviously, Oakmont last year was his worst performance with the driver at the U.S. Open. I would venture it was most people's worst performances with their driver, because that course is brutal and I don't like it. I love it.
And
but
plays a mile. Like, it plays so long to where this course is not going to play nearly as long as Oakmont.
Yeah, and even with the wind, we're also not going to get any of the rain or anything that we got last year. Maybe on Thursday a little bit, but otherwise the forecast is pretty much wide open. But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for Henley here. Next up, we have Wyndham Clark coming off 45-1. Another guy where I've said it every time, and I'll say it again. I don't like Wyndham Clark. I think he is a lot of things, and one of my favorite golfers, he is not. However, he is a former U.S. Open champion. That was very much an outlier event, and that event is probably led to a lot of the reasons why I don't like him. However, he is built for this setup. He's built for this field. He's playing phenomenal golf. Obviously, he missed the cut at the PGA. However, that's his only finish outside the top 21 in his last 3 starts. He's got a win, a T3 and a T11 in his last 3. His question mark is going to be the irons. That's going to be the question mark, is if the irons will cooperate with Wyndham Clark. However, top 30 in total driving, 13th around the green. Not his best putting surface, and the approach putting numbers could certainly be better. However, once you get past that, it's like, all right, dude avoids bogeys. He scores pretty well. He's been solid on approach. Most of this year, he's 4th in strokes gained approach over the last 30 in the field. 15th on comparable courses. 2nd strokes gained total at the U.S. Open over the last 5 years, which is kind of absurd when you consider that he's missed the cut at 3 of those. But it just goes to show how hard U.S. Opens can play and how much cream truly does rise to the crop at an event like this. The long iron approach numbers are good. He's not my favorite golfer, but I don't care how much I like you if you're going to make me some money. And I think Clark has a great chance to make money for you this week, especially if you go the route of looking up and down the ladder, where on FanDuel, you can get him to top 5 at 11-1. You can get him 440 to 470 to top 10. You can get him 2-1 to top 20. These are great opportunities. I mean, heck, you even can, it's only minus 200 for him to make the cut. Like, even if you just want to make the cut play on him, he's still one of the betting favorites in a lot of people's mind. He's within the top 20 of the betting odds.
Yeah, I completely co-sign I can't stand Wyndham Clark, but
you know what else can't?
I'm not going to bet on him.
Whatever golf course's locker room attendant, they can't stand him either.
Exactly. And just don't forget, he won a U.S. Open at LA Country Club, which in many ways very similar to this one in the sense of runoff areas around all the greens, a lot of bunkers greenside, not like the long rough, something to where you can putt and hit off tight lies, whether you're right off the green or 15, 20 yards off the green, which that's good. He's making so many freaking birdies right now. It is absurd. Over the last, I think it's like 6 or 8 tournaments. And then the big thing is, my buddy Scott, who we do the Fantasy Six Pack show, was talking about this new putter and what they have, designed it for him. And basically what you see while you're over it, looking down at the ball. Like, he just said he feels as comfortable as he's ever felt with any putter in the world. And we know that Wyndham Clark can get white hot with the putter for periods. And if that is the case this week, it could be a lookout. And I just also love that he plays par 3s very well, which I think that could be a huge, advantage for him, because you have one really difficult par 3 and then 3 par 3s that are, kind of average length, but they're the kind that hit it to 15, 20 feet, try to make your putt. If not, get your par and get out of there. But if you get aggressive, you can make double on any of these par 3s. And I think somebody like Clark, who has really excelled at par 3 scoring this year, a big week on the par 3s can really separate yourself from the field.
Absolutely. And like what you said about the putter, so much of putting is just confidence over the ball. I debuted my new putter this weekend on the golf trip that I was on. And I am not kidding when I tell you that I had the best putting performance in my life. It was a scramble, so I'll say that. So obviously, 2 people putting, I'm getting the read as the better, quote unquote, better putter. I was putting second anyway. I think if I played my own round, I do not think I hit more than 25 putts. Like, just having that much confidence over the putter, knowing that.
Did you get the Tiger heartbeat on some of the longer putts because you knew they were in? You know what I mean? Like, about halfway there, you started going.
The ball slows down.
Yeah.
I don't early walk putts ever. There was a couple that were trust me, there were a couple that I had hit the ball and saw that it was on the line, and just so much confidence over the putter, knowing that my speed control is so much better with this one that I walked a few in.
There you go.
And it was
There's nothing more demoralizing than when you were playing somebody and you're walking in 20, 30, 40 footers. So we need to work on that for you, especially if you're feeling comfortable with the new putter.
Trust me, it's 100% part of my repertoire now.
Love it.
We were doing a Nassau and did not lose one of the matches.
That's what I'm talking about.
Me and my partner did. So
what kind of putter is it?
It's Scottie's. It's the
the
Spider Tour X with the
nice
owner's neck, and it's go get one if you play golf. Just do it. It works for Scottie to work for you. I don't say that about many golf clubs, but this
one worked for Rory, obviously.
Moving on to Sepp Straka 110-1. I respect it. I fully respect it. I get why you do it. I'm out.
It's fair.
Try and convince me.
I mean, it's just a situation where he's getting ridiculous odds.
Yep.
I don't think he should be 110-1 to win when it's a golf course that if he is one of the few players that he could literally ball strike this this golf course into submission. Like we've seen him at very difficult venues just put on elite tee to green performances where he's either in contention or winning. Like obviously at the Honda Classic all those years ago, he won like recently. What was it at the Cricket Club? Like there's been these courses, where do I think it's likely? No, but I just think he is one of those guys that he has the ability on this kind of venue where if he finds fairways, which he has definitely the ability to do, and he's such a good iron player from 150 and further back, he could, be in contention just from ball striking. Now, don't get me wrong. If he has a bad week off the tee, finding fairways or on approach, he's screwed because he does not have the short game to survive at a venue like this. But I'm looking at it 110-1. He's one of the few people I think that, again, I could see him contending with, one of those elite Straka tee to green weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be the short game for me. I simply do not trust it here. He also has never played well at U.S. Opens traditionally. I think the most telling thing for me with Straka is FanDuel has him at minus money to miss the cut. Tough look, but there is money to be made if he does make the cut. He's also minus money to make the cut. He's one of few players, you got to scroll pretty far to get a guy to miss the cut. He's getting down in that range of where it's like it could go either way and anything's possible here. But like you said, the ball striking can be so solid that if he's in the fairway, he's going to give himself chances. It's just going to be a matter of can he capitalize on those chances, which is kind of the Sepp Straka experience. So it's not the Jordan Spieth experience where the ball looks phenomenal, 60 yards off the club face, and then we don't know where it went. It's not going to be that experience, but
he's been better in the Open than he has U.S. Open, which again, I look at this play more similar, like of a link style course.
Absolutely. Next up, we have Alex Smalley going off 130-1. This was another one of your plays. It's actually 135-1 now, so even more favorable for us out there. Going off plus 385 to top 20, 9.5-1 to top 10, 23-1 to top 5. But if he plays like he has of late, obviously not like he played at Memorial. That was probably the worst professional tournament of his entire career.
Yep.
But if we can get back to what he was doing at the Charles Schwab, at the PGA, at Truist, at Cadillac, we can get that Alex Smalley back. I'm all the way in.
It's basically everything I just said for Sepp Straka, for Alex Smalley, with the caveat that he's actually a pretty good putter. Yep. I don't like his approach putting numbers. They were a lot worse than I expected for somebody who's, like top 40 on tour and strokes gained putting. But
he's a guy who's not afraid to take an aggressive line, hit a putt hard to try and take some break out of it, which is where those approach numbers can start to get a little bit squirrely with you. When you have too much confidence with the putter, you're like, I'm going to sink this 60 footer that if I'm 2 inches long of the hole, it's off the green.
Yeah. But I love him. Obviously very good driver of the golf ball, somebody that is not afraid, and not like a lot of these guys that typically are, well in total driving that maybe they don't have any distance. He's got both accuracy and distance, and then just the numbers from 200 plus, which again, a lot of irons are going to be coming from that nature. I just feel at 130-1, this is sort of an inflated number. And I do like him. He's another one of those guys. Check out his top 10, top 20, bets. That they're pretty juicy. And also he's somebody I would check for first round leader as well.
Yeah, 385 plus 385 on DraftKings, plus 430 over on FanDuel to top 20, 11-1 to top 10 on FanDuel, 25-1. Only odd that I'm currently able to pull it on is Bet365, but he's 90-1 to first round lead. So certainly some fun plays there. Last play we've got this week, Cam Smith, 135-1. This is when you posted this, I was like, dang, I gotta double check that real quick. And it has gone a lot out of our favor since I made these banners. It's still 115-1, however. So I think they realized that 135-1. It earlier today it's opened this morning.
160 earlier this week, which is insane on DK.
Yeah, it certainly has, gone astray from the benefits that we were getting, but I think it makes sense to sprinkle a little bit here. He's playing his best golf over on Live that he's played in quite some time over his last few events. He T7 at the PGA Championship. The putter was strong as ever. He was good around the greens. The irons have been cooperating for him. For him, it's the driver. The driver's just the worst club in his bag. But he's been pretty consistent even when he's been bad with the driver at the US Open, save for 2024. Not really gaining, not really losing, but again, this is a course where I think if you're going to be lacking with one set of clubs in your bag, it's probably okay if it's the driver.
Yeah, I love Smith this week. I mean, it's ridiculous. He's 20-1 to top 5 on DraftKings, 10-1 to top 10, and plus 430, I think, is what I saw right before we started to top 20. The bad is before that T7 finish at the PGA, he'd missed a cut in 6 straight majors. That's not good, especially for a guy whose automatic bursts into major championships were fastly running out from his win. But again, this is a guy who won his major on link-style courses. What did we see him do that week? Putt the eyes off. Like not only just on the greens, but also putting from off the greens.
Texas wedge.
Yeah, like just – and, I mean, he is somebody that's top 10 in the field in strokes gained around the green. He's top 10 in the field in approach putting, which we talked about is so important. He was top 10 in my model for comp courses. Like, I think this is a perfect venue for him. And if you look at, like, what he's done over his last 5 events, he's consistently gaining a stroke to a stroke and a half on the field on the greens, and that includes the PGA Championship. Yeah. And we've talked about this before. It's one thing to gain like over a stroke, on approach or over a stroke, tee to green. To gain over a stroke or stroke and a half on the greens, pretty impressive. To do it in like 4 or 5 straight events, that's the Cam Smith that I fell in love with because it just seemed like anytime he needed to make a putt, he would. And what's even to me more encouraging, his approach play, similar to Patrick Reed, who is somebody that I really like this week for top 5, top 10, top 20 plays, is finally trending in the right direction. Like it's as good as it's been in a long time because it was really bad. And I completely agree with you. The one thing that could derail all of this is if he has a terrible driving performance, and that is the one thing that concerns me. But again, this is a venue that we expect the score at best to be like 1 under, even winning the tournament. If he putts and scrambles the way we know he's capable of, even with a bad driving performance, I think he can, be around there. So I love Cam Smith this week. Great value on DraftKings cash games, by the way. I think he's like 67 or 6,800 too this week.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that is our last play for the week, but it's not the only thing we are playing this week. And we're going to tune in and make sure you guys get to see what Fantasy Spin is all about.
Spin, pick, win.
I was going to say I did a lineup literally in between the end of the Fantasy Six-Pack show and the start of this show while I was letting Nico out. So just another reason to love Fantasy Spin.
Yeah, and for those who aren't aware what Fantasy Spin is, it is a gamified DFS experience. It gives you the opportunity to hit the jackpot, build your lineups, and win real cash. You can play for free or with cash lineups. You get your spins, you can lock the players in, and we are doing it here for the US Open. So let's build. This is actually going to be my first US Open lineup of the week. So let's see how we started out. So for those who are watching and have not seen what this looks like before, you spin the players and you can lock the players in place, or you can choose to not lock players in place and move on. You get 4 locks for the event, for your lineup building purposes, and it's much like DFS. You're going to get the points that those players score in the lineups. Looking at this first spin here, we're just going to spin again because no. And as we go on here, This is another dud for me a little bit. I don't hate Jimmy Stanger in some ways. I don't hate William Mao. He's actually got a pretty surprisingly decent profile here. But
and Fowler 4 weeks ago, I wouldn't have hated it, but what he's done since he collapsed at the Quail Hollow, I hate that.
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and spin again. All right, we got another one that I don't love. It's normally not this far in that I haven't locked anybody, but let's go a little bit further. All right, here we go.
Hey, there we go.
I'm in.
Don't hate Batia either, but
I don't. But you know that
you got. Is this a 10 or 6 spin?
10 spin.
Oh yeah, I'd wait then.
Did you know a lefty has never won a U.S. Open?
Really?
Unless I'm confused.
I guess that makes sense with Phil. I guess that kind of does make sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Cool
so he's probably not going to win. But again, this is DFS. We don't hate it. Shane Lowry's also kind of interesting.
Harmon might win this week, though. Watch out. So I'm just saying.
Wouldn't be surprising. There we go. We get Rom.
Hello. Ooh. God, I wish Koepka wouldn't have got banged up last week. I would be all in on Koepka this week.
I would too.
Don't dislike him this week if you're telling me you're betting him and putting him. I just mean that it does give me real hesitation. Obviously,
absolutely. Anytime a player withdraws with an injury the week before an event, and then it comes out that the injury is literally his hand, part of his hand is going numb, which is probably thoracic outlet syndrome or nerve compression or something to that effect. You don't love to see that, but he's going to be out there. He's going to grind.
We saw solid 3 guys though for the time being, right there. I got to admit.
This is just my live team, is what I'm going to.
Well, except Reed's like, I'm technically not on
live or former live.
There you go.
See, Minwoo's interesting.
I was just about to say, I'm
going to do it. I'm going to use my last lock on Minwoo.
It makes me like Scott's really in on him this week, and he convinced me. Like I see it.
When you've got the nickname Dr. Chipinski, we kind of have to like you a little bit in those events. So as anybody who's watching can see, I've already used my 4 locks. However, I still have 4 spins left. So I'm going to keep using my spins.
He's very good at scrambling off tight lies too, which obviously that's what you're going to.
That's where the Chipinski name comes from. Yep. I think that's where people get a little too overweight on Minwoo is they're like, oh, it's a short game event. No, we want a short game tight lie event. That's where I want Minwoo the most. But most importantly, I can unlock Minwoo if I get a better option and you want to keep spinning. I won't say that Sung J M is a bad option. It's not an option I will be taking. Dylan Wu as well.
You know, I've been in on Sung J a lot lately, not this week.
Yeah, this is not the one. Højgaard.
Nikolai, every time I'm against him, he seems to play well. So maybe that's, the situation this week.
Because I'm not in on him this week. And every time every time I bet on him, every time I write about him, nothing. The weeks I randomly throw him in lineups for DFS, I make money.
He slaps.
And Matt McCarty, fine.
He's what he is.
Yeah. I'm willing to take a slack.
267. That's not terrible. How many spins you got left?
2.
Yeah, just let it ride.
We're going to do it.
Oh, you bet. Well, Spawn's not terrible.
I don't hate Spawn.
The question is, would you rather have Spawn or Lee? Because
or do I just take both of them and deal with whatever Kevin Roy gives me?
I mean, that's fair too.
I think
only 1 spin left.
I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lock my lineup here. If I change my mind later, I have
1 spin.
I have that 1 spin I did not use. You can always go back. But while we're in the app, let me show you. Yeah. I love keeping a spin later, and I'm like,
for a rainy day, you never know when you're going to need that extra spin.
Exactly. But as you can see, Fantasy Spin is available for many different sports. They've currently got MLB, PGA, NASCAR, NHL, NBA, which obviously the season just ended for both of those sports. So those will not be available briefly here, given that we just saw the Stanley Cup.
Are they doing World Cup stuff or no?
They are not doing anything World Cup right now. I know once the NFL season comes, which that season is going to be here before we blink, there's going to be NFL on here as well. If you guys want to support the channel and want to support the guys over at FantasySpin, it's a really great team run by really great people over there. If you check out the link in the episode description, download the app, use code IBT Golf when you sign up, and deposit at least $10 and play one tournament, you will get $30 in bonus plays, which going to give you the opportunity to play even more events. And as I said as well, there are events that you can play in for free as well if you switch it on over to the arcade mode. But as you can see,
head-to-heads again, people, I really like those head-to-heads.
Keith do be loving them head-to-heads, and there's many different tournaments that you can enter this week. They have the $20 20 spin, or the $200 20 spin showdown. The hole-in-one event.
It's a new one, isn't it?
It is. I've seen it before with the majors. On some of the majors, you'll get some of the more unique events.
How many can you freeze in that one? 4?
Yep, 4 locks. Yeah. And then you have the hole-in-one, so that's a winner-take-all event. And then, as Keith mentioned, the head-to-head contest at all different price levels. The practice mode, if you want to get used to the app, is there as well. And you can switch on over to arcade, like I said, and play for free. So, again, that's code IBT Golf at sign-up. But, guys, thank you all for tuning in to the 19th hole this week. We do have a question here in the chat. So how does Jackson Koepka fit this course? Koepka did come 107th in my model. I will say it is an incomplete model. I will say what we do have from him is very promising for the most part. The around the green stuff is really what could potentially hold Koepka back some. However, the rounds that we do have, 12th in total driving, 11th in ball striking, first in approach from 150 to 200, first in par 5, birdies are better. So it's certainly not a bad fit for the course, and certainly someone that I'm interested in. I think
the first time I watched this young man play golf was at a Georgia Junior event where my best friend's son, who was 16 at the time, was playing Jackson, who was 11. Jackson shot 68 that day. He's the best young golfer I've ever seen. I think he is the next big thing. I love him for MME this week in DraftKings. I like taking shots at him at like 11-1 to top 10, or you can get him at almost 5-1 to top 20, but don't do anything crazy. Like no high unit wagers.
Yep.
Would not recommend putting him in DraftKings, like cash lineups. His real journey starts next week when he is officially a PGA professional and he's at the John Deere, and he might win that event. Like seriously, that's how talented this dude is, but a lot of pressure on him. This is last week. It's an amateur. Wouldn't shock me because the talent's so high. Like, why not? Right?
For the man won 6 events this year in college.
Yeah.
Like,
he is the real freaking deal. But to your point, like, it's scary when you're about to play the strongest field that you have all season.
Yeah.
And no offense, it's a big difference between playing college kids and playing a U.S. Open and playing college venues and playing Shinnecock Hills.
Absolutely. Great way to end the show. Thank you for the question, Jordan. Much appreciated. But guys, that has been another week of the 19th hole. May all of your bets cash. May all of your DFS lineups win. And we will see you all in next week's Tee Time.